Hey, this is Alex with the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. Make sure to follow us on Spotify so you can catch every new episode that we post. Also, follow us on Twitter at Unbiased Blazers. In our bio, there's a link to join our Discord server where you can join in on the discussion. You can give us takes, comments, questions for us to talk about on future episodes. Now, let's get to the show. Rip City, baby.
Rip City, there's no pity. We stay litty. Jaguar. Red city. Red city. Hand down, man down.
Well, Rip City, it's been what feels like forever since we got to watch Blazer basketball, but we are here for episode 9 of the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast, and we're going to talk a little bit about the NBA draft that's coming up. I think they just did the draft lottery today. We're going to talk a little bit about the coaching situation and a hot topic right now involving a trade with us that's pretty much got everybody talking about it. We're going to start off, though, since we talked about it on the last episode. We'll recap on the coaching situation that we got going on. From the sounds of it, it sounds like we are kind of narrowing it down a little bit. I know Becky Hammon, Mike D'Antoni, and Chauncey Billups all have received second interviews or are in the process of getting a second interview. I believe Mike D'Antoni had a second interview today, if I'm not wrong. So out of those three, I know we talked about it in the last episode, but how you guys feel about those three choices there?
I think those are the three correct choices. I mentioned before that those three would be my most serious candidates right now. Although I have an edge for D'Antoni, because he's the most experienced. I like Billups and I like Becky. I think both can become good coaches in the NBA. But yeah, we gotta wait a couple more interviews maybe. Get sure who we want, and hopefully it's Mike, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm with Mike with Mike as my preference, Mike D'Antoni. He's the only one who has been a head coach, and he's been one of the most successful head coaches to never win a championship, and he got so close. He took the KD Warriors to 7. So I think he would be a good fit. People talk about like his defense, but we can't get much worse on defense than we did last year. So I think he would improve it like himself. And he knows that he hires good defensive coaches as his assistants because he knows like where he lacks, I guess. But the thing with these three is that I feel like Mike, just based on what we've heard, I feel like Mike D'Antoni is not being considered on the same level as the other two. Chauncey Billups has been linked to us since the very second that Stotts got fired, and Dame has also said his support for him. And then we've also heard that our owner, Jody Allen, is really in favor of Becky Hammon, who I prefer to Billups as well. So I think my gut feeling is that we won't be hiring Mike D'Antoni, and it's going to be either Becky or Billups, and I prefer Becky.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it seems like Olshey is very big on Billups, and that was one of the reasons why when we fired Stotts, that was like the first name that came out was Chauncey Billups. And like you said, Jody Allen's really big on Becky Hammon. And I actually agree. I would prefer Hammon over Billups. But I'll be honest with you, out of those three, if we got any of them, I think that's an upgrade for us. And I don't think that it's, no matter who we get, I think it's going to be a good coach for us. If I had to pick, I honestly would probably pick Hammon just for the fact that she was under Popovich, and I think that the defense can be greatly improved with her, and the system that she can bring. So I would pick Hammon, but I honestly wouldn't be upset if it was D'Antoni or Billups. I think all three of them are good choices.
Yeah, I go back and forth between Becky and D'Antoni, between who I prefer. But the reason Billups is kind of a distant third, I think he's better than everyone else. But between those three, I think Billups is a distant third for me. One, because he does have some like off the court issues, and two, he's only been an assistant coach for 1 year, versus I don't know, like 8 for Becky under the best coach ever, and D'Antoni has head coaching experience for like I don't even know how long. So I don't know if he's experienced enough. He does have a good career as a player, so maybe he's ready right away. But I would be just a little bit more cautious with him compared to the other two.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect. His playing career was a very good career, and he was a good point guard. But like you said, 1 year as an assistant coach. If he makes that jump to head coaching, we don't really have a year or two to wait for him to really find his
Hmm.
find that spot that he thrives in. So I do think Becky Hammond or D'Antoni over him. But even if we were to get him, I'd be happy with him over much of the other choices that were out there. Now, if I had it my way, I mean, we'd be getting Nate McMillan back, but we know that Atlanta's not going to let him walk away now. So, unfortunately, he's not coming back to Portland anytime soon. So, with that, we're going to move on to a very, very, as of today, June 22nd, a very hot topic. Philadelphia 76ers lost in 7 games, and what a lot of people are saying, Ben Simmons really kind of choked that whole series away. And to a point, I kind of agree. I mean, he did not play very well and made some very questionable decisions late in games. So, with that being said, the rumor going around is a trade involving one CJ McCollum for Ben Simmons. Let me just start off with Fawad. Let's do this. I want to do this. I was listening to the radio. I was listening to NBA radio today, and they were having I've never heard of a discussion like this between these guys. They were yelling at each other and arguing. It was crazy. It was fun to listen to. Who's a better player, Ben Simmons, CJ McCollum? Not for the Blazers, just overall, who's a better player, Ben Simmons, CJ?
That's tough to say. My heart wants to say CJ, but I feel like Simmons is probably better because CJ is a little bit more one-dimensional. He's just a scorer, doesn't really have much else. But on the flip side, Ben Simmons has zero scoring ability, and scoring is like almost definitely the most important skill. So I don't know. I would honestly, just to make a decision, I'll go with CJ
Okay,
as a
Mike, what
better
about
player.
you?
Yeah, on contrary to forward, my heart wants to say Ben Simmons because I'm really hurt on CJ, but I can't say Ben Simmons is the better player here. He hasn't shown anything in a big stage, you know. He cannot score. He's a good passer and a good defender, but he doesn't have anything that goes through that. And when you can't score, you choke the games. Defense wins championships, but it's when you can bank a shot. If you're going to clamp a guy for 10 points, but then miss the last 2 free throws, it doesn't mean anything. So I think CJ right here is a better player, but I still would do the deal, and I got a couple of reasons for it.
Sure. And like you guys were saying, it's super hard because CJ excels at scoring, but his playmaking and defense are very lackluster. And essentially Ben Simmons is the exact opposite, where his defense and playmaking is something that he excels at, but his scoring is just probably one of the worst in the NBA. So, and it's crazy being that big. If I had to say who was the better player, I would go with Ben Simmons. For one, he's younger, he's taller, he's more athletic, and kind of like what Fawad said, he's higher in 2 categories where CJ's only high in 1 category. So I would go with Ben Simmons, although it's just very close who's as of right now who's the better player, but I would probably go Ben Simmons. So
And
with that, go ahead.
yeah, and they're just so hard to compare to. There's like nothing they have in common
Yeah.
in terms of their games, so it's just a difficult comparison to make.
So, with that being said, the trade that I've heard is just straight up Ben Simmons, CJ, but I don't know if money works or what. If there had to be extra stuff, would you do that trade, Foad, Ben Simmons for CJ McCollum?
First of all, I'm pretty sure the money does work. As for adding other stuff, that's up to the GMs, I guess. But I absolutely would not do this trade. I've been seeing people talk about it so much, and I see, in theory, all the benefits there are to having Ben. But in my opinion, I don't. I think the fit is almost as bad as the fit with CJ because if we play Simmons, whether it's at point, which would be a terrible decision, but more likely at the four, then we have him and Nurk who both can't shoot. Then we have Rocco who can only shoot, but he can't create his own shot. So in the playoffs, we'll have Dame who's going to get double or more likely triple teamed, and then we're going to have to rely on Norm if he even resigns to create offense on his own. Because if you pass the ball to Simmons, he's going to get fouled, he's going to miss free throws, or he's going to have to pass it to like I don't know, I guess back to Norm or Covington for a shot. I just think that on offense he's such a negative that I don't know if his defense makes up for it. And I think that his playmaking is really overrated. I don't think he's obviously like above average, but I don't know if he's not great. Maybe he's good. Especially there was a post today on our NBA, so and it was only based on one game, so just take it with a grain of salt. But like almost all of his passes, first of all, a lot of them weren't even real assists. He was just the last person to pass to them, and he got credited for an assist. But a lot of them were in transition. His half court game is like almost non-existent. I don't think that's, and we don't play that much in transition. Like this year is probably relatively high. In the past, we almost never we don't do that good in transition. So I think his fit with us is suboptimal to say the least. But I do think that we do need to trade CJ. So yeah, just not for Ben.
Okay, Mike, how do you feel? Ben Simmons for CJ?
I feel it's good that we talk about trading CJ because we need a huge breath of fresh air in the roster. But it's not good that we're trading a choker for a choker. Um, I don't know. I just feel very uneasy about having. Fawad put it perfectly before. Uh, if there's no CJ, I don't know who will score, but dang, either Dame has those 60-point nights every night, or I see us struggling a lot to get the ball in the basket, especially with still the uncertainty of Norm and now news coming out that LeBron wants Melo in the Lakers. We lose a lot of scoring and trading CJ too for a guy that can't score. He can't score. People say, oh, he's a 15 points per game scorer. He scores them because he's 40 minutes out there and eventually going to get a mismatch and a layup. He cannot create his own shot. Rarely shoots. He's got a pretty bad post game. Not a good finisher at the rim. I don't know. I feel he's a very good defender. He actually was my pick for Defensive Player of the Year. He really impressed me on that category. But I don't know. Straight up, a CJ for Ben Simmons, I wouldn't do it. I would only consider the deal if we somehow did added maybe I don't know $10 million
Setback.
contract so we can get a George Hill, so we can get a guy that can shoot and can play make off the bench and can defend too. He's a very good 3-and-D. But even on that case, I still feel like we need another scorer. Because even Norm, if he resigns, he's not the not to be taken badly here, but he's not the scorer CJ. CJ is more of a pure scorer than Norm is, from what I've seen, at least.
So I go back and forth on this. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I go back and forth a lot on it. In my head, I think making that trade, I think, does make us a little bit better for the sole reason that we had one of the best offenses in the NBA, but one of the worst defenses, and we saw how the season played out. I 6 years now with CJ and Dame, and only making it out of the second round, I think, twice. It's just at some point something has to change. And
I
I
think it's
honestly,
3 times, but same thing.
is it 3?
I'm pretty sure because we lost to the Warriors in the second round one time, and there
Mhm.
was the Western Conference, and I think one time, we lost to the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm not sure. I don't know. It could be 2. I
Either
could be
way,
wrong.
yeah, either way, 2 or
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
The backcourt of Lillard and CJ offensively is obviously a great combo, but defensively it hurts us too much. I think the biggest thing relies on if we do make this trade, we have to try to re-sign Norman Powell. Like that's something we get rid of Gary Trent, we lose that, we have to get Norman Powell back if we're going to trade CJ. And like you said, it's going to be tough with having Nurkic, Ben Simmons, and Rocco all out there at the same time because really Rocco's a decent 3-point shooter, but are we really wanting him to be the one that's taking all the threes? Probably not. But at this point, we buy into defense and we let our defense kind of how Memphis almost was, where it was more of a defensive team and they were, grinding games out. I think they were called the Grindhouse for a reason. So I go back and forth. I like CJ and I think he's a really good player. But at this point, something has to change. And if our best option is Ben Simmons, I think I'm okay with it. And especially depending on if we were to get Mike D'Antoni, let's say, he is a much more fast-paced offense, fast breaks. That might actually help us even more, having Ben Simmons there. We'll have to get into it more and more if this rumor keeps going around. But for right now, I would say I would be okay with the trade. But it's tough either way. It's hard saying goodbye to a player like CJ who you've had this whole time and is as good as he is. But at some point, I feel like a change has to be made. Anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah. I don't see. I'm gonna be going like back and forth, like both sides on this, but like one side of me says that one person can't fix our defense, but then also if you get a new coach and you get Ben Simmons, then maybe we can get to even like 15. And in my mind, 15 plus our offense should be enough. But then I also go back to Ben Simmons' offense, and I don't know, like, will that hurt us enough? But then I also, will that hurt us like too much? And then I also think like, is Dame enough to just keep us at a top 10 offense? He's done it he's done it with like subpar offensive teams, and we've always been like near the top of the league. And I think even Philly, they were around like 15, and they don't have someone like Dame. So then maybe we can be fine with Dame and Simmons. But then I don't know. There's just so many things that go into it.
Well, and then another big if is how Ben Simmons treats this offseason. He made the comments
Yeah.
about getting his mind right and working on his game. If he really does do that and it makes a difference, trading CJ for Ben Simmons could be exactly what we need. If he can shoot 60% from the free throw line, teams will stop just going to fouling him right away. If you can make more than half the free throws you're taking, I mean, honestly, I would take 1 point in possession every time we get the ball. 1 point. That's not terrible. So
Yeah, it's not terrible, but it's not
well,
that
I
good
mean,
either.
clearly we clearly want more, but every time he touches the ball, if we're gonna get 1 point with his defense and his ability, and I think if we have him, Lillard plays off ball more. He doesn't have to have the ball and go through all these screens, and I think that helps.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We haven't
Dame off
seen
ball
Lillard
could help.
really be off ball, so maybe he
Hmm.
doesn't even excel at that. Maybe he needs the ball. I mean, we don't know. It's definitely interesting. And there's also a rumor, and I don't remember where I saw it from, and I tried finding it, and I couldn't. So maybe it's just some crazy fan trying to make this happen. But I thought it was like Northwest Sports or something. There was a rumor that Joel Embiid could possibly be traded to us.
I
I
don't think
couldn't.
there's any chance of that happening.
I didn't think so either. I couldn't find it a second time, but I did read it, and it said that we were the Vegas odds. We were the favorites for that, but I thought it was crazy.
That was on NBC Sports.
Okay, see, I thought I saw that somewhere.
Um, supposedly we're the favorites to land Joel Embiid.
I saw that we were the favorites to get Simmons, but I didn't see Embiid. But either way, there's zero chance that happens.
I would be completely shocked if they got rid of
We
Embiid.
have
Yeah.
plus 250 to land Embiid. The other teams are the Rockets, Warriors, Lakers, Timberwolves, and Pacers.
I mean, if we were to get Embiid, we definitely would be giving up CJ and probably Nurkic, and there probably would have to be something else too. And I don't see Philly doing that. That's a crazy trade right there.
Yeah. Oh, I do see the article now.
Okay? I looked for it. I couldn't find it the second time, but I knew it was there somewhere. Who knows if it's true or not? There might not be any grounds for that to be even true, but I did see it. It's worth bringing up. If it does happen, would you rather have Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid?
I mean, obviously Embiid.
Yeah,
I don't know if we can get Embiid without trading Dame.
So let's move on to the draft. The draft lottery happened tonight. Obviously, we traded our pick this year away for Robert Covington. I have a feeling this draft for us, unless we decide to do something crazy, we're not going to be involved in this draft. I don't think. I don't see us trading anything to get into the draft.
Yeah, our first round pick is in Houston because of the Covington trade. I don't know if we have any second round picks. We'll check quickly.
I don't think we do, but I could be wrong. Anyways, with that being said, did you see it?
Sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear.
Did you see if we have a second round pick?
Oh yeah, I'm looking. I don't really know where I could find. Oh, okay. No, our pick is to Memphis, I think. Either way, we don't have it.
Yeah, I didn't think we had one. So I have a feeling our draft is going to be kind of a boring draft night for us.
Yeah.
I also, real quick, I wanted to just shout out Rahi on Reddit was actually the one that wanted us to discuss Ben Simmons and CJ's trade. I mean, obviously it's a hot topic, so I just wanted to give him a shout out because he did respond to it saying that that's something we should talk about. So
our subreddit is actually very in favor of Ben Simmons from what I've seen.
Yeah, it seems like it. And it's tough. It's 50-50 for me. Sometimes it's Simmons, sometimes it's CJ. So we're gonna go to the draft. Shady VHS in our Discord server wanted us to talk about this, and I actually think this is a super cool idea. So we're gonna do this. The hits and misses that Neil O'Shea has had since he's taken over as the Blazers. Obviously, we probably all know our number one hit is drafting Damian Lillard. So I don't think we really need to do that because we know we got him in the 6th pick, I believe is what it was. So that's just great value for that. So why don't we start off?
I had something to say. Yours is Lillard, mine is Will Barton.
Will Barton?
Who?
Will Barton at 40th overall. That's a steal of a pick right there.
Yeah,
that's
is
my
too.
number one.
Yep.
And Gary Trent Jr. at 46 or 47, if I remember correctly.
I believe so. I think we had to make a trade to Sacramento, right?
Yeah,
Sacramento.
So with that, let's go ahead. You said Will Barton, right, Mike?
I was joking. That's obviously Dame, but Will Barton's a very good pick.
Okay. Go ahead and give us either a hit that you like that Neil O'Shea did or a miss that you wish he would have done.
Okay, a hit. I'm going kind of I'd say a risky one because there's a lot that we haven't seen from him, and there's a lot of good players in this draft class, but it is 2019. We drafted 25th overall. We drafted Nasir Little. Of course, if you go and see now, guys like Kevin Porter Jr., Claxton, Smilagic, Bobo, PhD all went after him. But I'm really high on Nas actually. I think he can become a starting small forward in a good team. And I think drafting a guy like that, 25th overall, I think it's very good. With the misses, there's a few I can select for sure. Off the top of my head, I'll go with. I like him, but I'll go with Anthony Simmons. I just feel that there were other players in the draft that we needed more, and even at the time, um, guys like Rob Williams. Um, I'm not gonna use Devontae Graham because he wasn't projected for the first round anyway. But a guy like Rob Williams, even then and now, we could use a guy like him. We needed a shot blocker. We still need, of course. And we went for Efren, which really doesn't give us an edge on shooting because we already have a lot of shooting. Um, if I have to, if I can be really mean, I would go with CJ McCollum, of course, but I'm not going to be that guy. No one expected Giannis to be the guy he is. But yeah, hit Nas Little, miss, and for these Simons.
Yeah, I think I have a feeling we're gonna have a lot of the same ones because I too, even though I think CJ was a a good pick and he turned out good for us, it was kind of risky picking a lower, well, less known player. But then again, nobody expected Giannis to do what he's done. So it's tough to say, oh, he missed picking Giannis when that wasn't something that was expected to be done. Uh, I think another player he could have picked that would have been interesting was in. Let me find it real quick. And we kind of talked about this before we started this podcast, and it's kind of tough to say because this guy was drafted in the second round. We picked Myers Leonard, who a lot of Blazer fans don't like, but honestly, he wasn't. If we didn't pay so much for him, he wouldn't have been that bad of a pick. But in that draft, we missed out on Jay Crowder, Chris Middleton, and as much as I don't like him, and honestly, I'd rather have Myers Leonard, Draymond Green. I don't like Draymond Green at all, but obviously we know he's turned out to be a pretty good player. It's tough because those are second round picks, and we had Myers Leonard at the 11th pick, so it's hard to say we missed on those. But it would have been nice to have honestly any of them. I think Middleton's one of the best players to have as a second player to your star. So
Yeah, it hurts to see now, but you can't really fault him for not getting someone who went like almost 30 picks later.
yeah. And it's tough because I actually think O'Shea's done a pretty good job of drafting.
Yeah, I do too.
So there's not very many misses. I think he's hit on a lot of his picks. It's just eventually as players develop, some players develop better than others. So
Yeah, another one I forgot to mention, Donatron Myers Leonard. A guy that was basically right behind him, if I remember correctly, was Mo Harkless.
Yep.
And, it's not a huge miss because we ended up having him, and he was actually decent for us. I like him, and I still like him as a player. But yeah, the Myers Leonard draft is something that can't be explained by science. It's just tough to look down and see so many names that you recognize late first round, second round. But yeah, no one could see it. But that's why I didn't put Myers Leonard in my worst picks. He wasn't bad for us. He did what we kind of needed. We needed a big, and we needed some shooting. So
yeah, he wasn't bad for us. He just was bad for the amount of money we paid him.
yeah, for sure.
Fawad, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, let me just comment on your guys' picks really quickly. I obviously agree, Nasir Little. I think for the 25th pick, that's really, really good. I'm very high on him. I think he can be a really, really great player in just a couple of years. I'm hoping next year he has a breakout season. He was like one of the most recruited players coming out of high school. So the fact that he even dropped to us at 25, I was so happy that day, and I'm still really high on him. Simons, I don't think I wouldn't call him a miss because he was the 24th pick, and he has been around as good as a typical 24th pick, maybe even better. But yeah, that draft was really stacked, and there's a lot of like proper names that went soon after, like Robert Williams, like you mentioned. Even in early second round, I think Bruce Brown would probably be comparable to Simons, but I think on average he's probably done better than the average 24th pick.
Well, and he's also
Uh,
extremely young too.
oh
So
yeah, he's only like what 3 years in.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
he's 22. So
I think
21 or 22.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I think when you go to the 2018 draft, I think everybody outdid their pick. To be honest, it's such a loaded draft. Like pretty
yeah, it
much like
really is.
every guy in that draft, like apart from like 10, 15 guys, every one of them is getting does have a contract and is getting minutes in the NBA. It's crazy. I just mentioned Rob Williams because he was already looked at as a good pick for teams that needed bigs, and he's the most fair to compare because we could have took him. But yeah, I'm not going. I'm not going on the Devonte Graham train because yeah, that's a special case.
Yeah, that's another tough
Yeah.
one too.
So for my hit, I mentioned him for a second earlier, Gary Trent Jr. at 37. I think that's insane value for a second round player. I've mentioned before how he's one of my favorite Blazers, favorite active Blazers, and I just think he has all-star potential in him. I don't really like, and that's again from the 2018 draft. There are so many good players even deep into that draft. And then for my misses, I kind of have two. The first one is a more obvious one, Caleb Swanigan. We picked him at I think 26 or 27,
Yeah,
and he just
26.
didn't pan out at all. It wasn't a great draft to begin with, or like after Swanigan, but I think Kuzma went the pick right after. And even though he's not like that good or anything, I think he's better than obviously a lot better than Swanigan because he's not Swanigan isn't even in the league anymore. Um, and then my other one, which is I was kind of iffy on because I really like him as a player, but Zach Collins, I think he's probably about average for a 10th pick. But if you just look at that draft, the people who went um, like soon after him, there's so many good players: Donovan Mitchell, Bam Adebayo, John Collins, Jared Allen. These are all like in the tens picks,
Yeah,
so they're not even like super late that we could have missed. OG Anunoby at 23. That's a little further off, but
that is a
yeah.
great point right there. That is a
But the
great
Donovan
thing is,
Mitchell hurts right there.
I really like Zach Collins, so it hurts me to say it, but I'm fine with him as a pick. But there are just so many other people that are better than him.
Yep. And and he still might turn out to be a good player. It's just
Yeah,
his
if he can
health
ever get
issues.
healthy.
He's just got to stay healthy. But that Zach Collins, I think out of all the misses, with what potential was in that draft, I think you're exactly right.
Hmm.
That Donovan Mitchell, like you said, Bam Adebayo, who there was John Collins, right? You said John Collins.
Yeah, at
Ugh.
19.
It hurts. I think even Jarrett Allen was in that one, if I remember right.
Yeah, he
Correct.
was
Ugh.
22nd. And we traded the 15th and the 20th picks to move up to draft him. So imagine if we got
Yeah.
like John Collins with the 20th and then like Jared Allen or OG Anunoby with
Ugh.
the 20th. Oh my
See,
Yeah.
god.
Also at pick 18 to TJ Leaf.
We have him now.
I was gonna say we
Yeah,
have him
that's
now.
good. That's good though.
But yeah,
W.
I think you know what, I'm giving you the win on that one. That Zach Collins, even though he's good
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
still have him, what we could have had, you're
Yeah,
exactly right,
You made
100%.
us suffer here.
Yep. Now I'm gonna be in depression now because of that.
Yep.
So with that, podcast is about a half an hour now. Last podcast we recorded, we had a little technical issue where we did our top Blazer moments, and for some reason it didn't record that part. And now that we're at a half an hour, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna lead off on our next episode with that one because now it's two podcasts that we have missed out on this. So we're gonna lead off no matter what craziness happens. That's what we're leading off with.
It's a cursed
Unless
topic.
unless Dame gets traded, we might lead off with that, but that ain't happening. So next podcast, we're gonna be going with our top Blazer moments. If you guys are listening and you want to, give us your top Blazer moments, either this season or and past seasons, we'll totally talk about it. We'll add it in there. So we're going to lead off with that topic because it's now been 2 episodes of us saying we're going to do it and then not doing it. So anything else you guys want to add?
Not really, but I do think that by the next episode, it's quite possible that we make our head coaching decision. So we might that might take up a lot of time on the episode.
I think so. I think that's very possible because we're going to want to get one as fast as we can. We don't want to lose it to somebody else. Mike, do you have
Also,
anything you want to say?
I'm good for now.
Okay.
Dylan.
Fawad, what was that?
I was about to say we didn't really talk about Rick Carlisle, but he hasn't been rumored like with us at all. But he would be a decent hire, but I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that on the table for the next talk because I do actually want to talk about that. I forgot about him, so we'll talk about him on the next episode. So with that being said, the intro song and the outro song was from I Am Jordan, Rip City. Check him out on YouTube, Spotify. I believe he's even on iTunes, so check that out. Have a good night, and as always, Rip City, baby.
I came to ball out. Mo to Santa, bring the crowd out. OG finna air it out. Center court, time to wild out. I started tapping my wrist. You know what time it is. Step back through the wave. Send her up to his grave. There's no pity in the city of roses. I got the city riding with me. Young blazer, I'm focused. Focus on the prize. Fire in my eyes. I got the spirit of 77. Rip City, do or die. Critics doubted I'd never panic. I had to stay mellow. From the Pacific to the Atlantic, we set it off inferno. Trailblazer, no Chevy. Catching fire like CJ. Whole team full of shooters. Dropping bombs like DJ. Set the net on fire. Crowd singing like a choir. Lillard jersey, my attire. Dane Sevens, never tired. RCTID, Portland raised me. RCTID, you can't change me.